Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Community Connection. Hope that you are staying warm and dry. A good part of the country is having a cold blast. So stay safe out there. Hey, Rob Meister, you back there? Haven't checked in with you in a while.
How are you, sir?
You doing all right?
Yes, sir. How about you?
I'm doing well. How long have you known our very special guest today without saying her name?
Ooh, let's see. We met over a camera some years ago. I want to say 2014 or 15. Yeah. Yeah.
Long time.
So,
you guys were still in middle school then or something, right?
oh dear. I had my own business then.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Well, we're pretty excited about our guest. For those who work at Patrick Henry Family Services, you're going to be familiar with her, but you may not know all of her story, right? And it's a good story. So, Miss Claudia.
Robert J. Day.
Merry Christmas to you.
And to you.
Yeah? You got anything snarky to say before you introduce the guest?
The snarky always comes from you. I am
No.
just a victim. Just a helpless victim when it comes
Who plays
to
the
this.
victim card? Yeah.
No, I don't play the card. I'm just being factual. I am the victim. I'm not snarky to you. I'm kind to you.
Well, if you ever need to know the definition of gaslighting, just look it up in the dictionary. It'll say, see Claudia Fletcher.
See? Prove my point.
Why don't you introduce our guest, Miss
I'd love to
Claudia?
do that. So our guest today is Wendy Adams, and she is our Director of Donor Engagement. I want to make sure I get the title exactly right. She's also a pretty cool person, and we're going to get to know her a little bit today. And then we're going to tell you about Patrick Henry and the fact that we would love to have you be part of what we do and how to do that. So this is our episode to do that. So Wendy, let's start out a little bit about your background. Tell people all the things about Wendy Adams.
So, thank you for having me on this
bet.
morning. It took a long time. The pre-show is very interesting in here. I just have to. I can tell you all about it later. Yes. So, Director of Donor Engagement, or as I like to say, the Chief Storyteller. They won't let me really have that title, but my story. I'm sure you want to know what's my why.
Mm-hmm. We do.
People, my love of people. And Claudia knows this well. I love people. She loves people. We don't always like people, but
We love the concept of
we
people.
we do indeed. It is the connection of people and being able to listen, hear their hearts, and connect them with those things that can advance what is passionate to them. So that's my why. And that has been my why for quite a while. Why do I say Chief Storyteller? Well, for many of you, especially on staff, you know what this year has been for me. I've lived in both places. I've been in Florida and I've been here in Lynchburg as my mama walked through a really difficult journey, and I walked alongside her, and she is where storytelling came from for me. She really is the chief storyteller, and let me know that when you can tell a passionate story, you can connect with people best and make what we talk about here, those meaningful relationships. But it took a while for Mama and I to be on the same page of how that could translate into a meaningful job.
Yes, right.
So my mom was a registered nurse for 47 years. And that's a real job.
Yes.
And as I, like Rob, owned my own business for a while as an event manager, actually. She said, "So you're planning parties? How's that going to make you money?" And we walked through this time of, I need you to get something that is grounded where you can make a difference for now and for the future. And I have to say that in the last 11 months that we were able to spend together in very intentional time, side by side, and as she eavesdropped on a lot of my meetings, which she said, "You do a lot of meeting," she recognized that that's exactly what I'm able to do here at Patrick Henry Family Services. And I saw pride well up in her for that, and that was such a gift for me. So in what was a very difficult time, she went home to be with Jesus on Thanksgiving morning. But the time that we spent up until then was precious and priceless, and I'll hold it near and dear, and it helps me to be a better storyteller.
Wow.
Awesome. So back up a little bit more.
Okay.
So grew up where?
So I've been told that I have no accent. I was actually born in the Bronx, in New York. Not there long. And then moved to L.A. and then to Tampa, Florida. That's where I spent majority of my time and where I grew up. And then to D.C. and then to Lynchburg, Virginia. And that trail took me on such a journey where I told God a lot of no's. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. So when people say, how did you get to where you are now? And the answer is disobedience. When God says go and you say no is not good.
Oh, wow.
But what he has brought out of that journey is a lot of being able to do exactly what we said right in the beginning, is connecting with people and loving them and hearing from them and from all different walks of life and recognizing how much we all are interwoven together to make this a better place.
I've never met a child who, when you ask them what do you want to do when you grow up, say, I want to be a fundraiser. I want to be a major gift officer. I've never heard that. So how does one become that in this journey that you've been talking about?
You know, I think it's when God said, I want to do something different, he said, I want to take the skill sets, the talents that I've given you and use it in a different way. And I didn't see it that way either, but it really was connecting with people and listening to them. And I did that to plan events. I actually planned a lot of fundraising events, just never knew how it impacted the other side where the funds were going. And so, no one really ever says that. But when it all comes down to it, I'm actually using the degree in public relations. So that also made my mom proud that after many years in college, I was doing that. But it really is finding who you are and being able to use the skills and not pigeonholing yourself to a title.
So I didn't prepare you that I was going to ask this because I didn't know I was going to ask this. Sometimes, my husband, he says, sometimes I get really nervous because I never know what you're going to say. And I say, me either.
Yes.
So anyway, that was a little aside. So I creep on your Facebook. And my husband says that the lines that define family are permeable. And so looking at your Facebook, tell us a little bit about how you define family and how you've created your family over the years, because I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so for me, we talk about circles of support here, and I didn't realize that's exactly how I grew up. I didn't have that title, but, I grew up with a single mom. And with the work that she did, there was a lot of, Thanksgiving's going to be on Sunday, not Thursday, because that's when she was going to be home. And so I was surrounded by a circle. So for me, family's always been defined as not DNA. It's those who meet you right where you are and love you because of and in spite of, and who doesn't want that? And so it really, when it comes down to it, and I've said this before, if it was just DNA, I'd be a little limited. And that's the kind way of putting it. But just recognizing that when you can find those common bonds, when you can be there for one another, again, because of and in spite of, that's truly what family is. And so that's been my definition, and being able to walk that out even now, today, with a special young lady who's been living with me, was supposed to be 3 months, and we're coming up on 3 years, has become family because of those common bonds.
So let's take that one step further. And how does your experience there tie in with what we're doing at Patrick Henry? I mean, let's talk a little bit more about your roommate, because her family was different than your family.
Yeah, her family looked different than mine, different values. Everything about, when the opportunity arose to be able to open my home, which the Lord gave me this home, and that was one of the mandates, is that I would use it for His glory. But I still had my rules and what that looked like. And a college student in a pandemic was not one of those things. But he had another plan. And it was really eye-opening to see. And we say this, what does Gen Z and Gen X have in common? Well, it really is the love of family. That's where we found that bond, is being able to have communication and interaction and be heard. That was something that's always been important to me, and something that was missing in her life and space. And that's where we found the commonalities, and not just resting on those things that are very different.
And I think that the this idea of building that family, that circle of support, those of us who have had that, who always have had that, have no clue what it's like to not have that.
Absolutely, and even in this season, and being able to grow, with Ashley, it wasn't about just me. And we talk about that here at Patrick Henry all the time. It's not just about us, right? It's the partnerships that we have. I had those. I have that circle in my life and space, and boy, did they have to deepen and broaden when it came to the fact of having someone new who was so different from me.
Right. And so that's what we're trying to do. That's the family part of Patrick Henry Family Services, right? And maybe it's not a family that we create, but it's that feeling of family, that definition of family that says you can't go through life alone. You need people. And here's how we can help you find those people so that you can go from day to day. Are we ready for that commercial?
I think this would be a good time to move into that commercial.
All right.
Guys.
They say she is very sick. We have to do surgery to take off baby. They do surgery, take off baby. He was premature, and when they operate, they found one tumor in her ovary, and they told us she get cancer too. Social worker, one nurse told me about Patrick Henry family. Where they say that family is very helping.
They said this brand new baby who pretty much stayed alive by the grace of God needs a family.
We just kind of looked at each other for a second, and it was just like, did you see that one come through? And so of course we were kind of scared, but at the same time we were both like, let's just do it. There's a lot that we had to do to kind of prepare to have him with us.
Watching his progress with the nurses and having them watch over us as we learned how to feed someone so little.
Good morning. Yeah.
He was, I think, 1 pound, 3 ounces at birth. I just felt the calling. I just said, this is it. This is what I want to do with my next little chapter of my life.
I think it wasn't necessarily like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? What a crazy mistake this was. I think it was more just like, no, this is the hardest thing we've ever done. But no, I mean, it's clear that God made it very clear that Ollie was supposed to hang with us for that period of time.
But we had to remind ourselves of that truth every day because it was the hardest thing that we've ever done.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. The Lord definitely held up his promises that he would provide himself and everything that is needed within, his person and his character as we got to meet him in a different way,
His dad, is going through a bunch of trials all at the same time, and he just needed support.
I'm really appreciate Patrick Henry family. They help me a lot with food, with financially, with my kids and everything. I'm Muslim, but they don't care about I'm Muslim or Christian, and they care about humanity.
He felt so good that Ollie was getting such love and such care. It did his heart good, he'd say. Sometimes he'd move me to tears,
He thinks that we've given him so much, but he's also given us a great honor by trusting us with his son, which is huge.
It's more like, thank you for letting us be part of your family, for this season rather than thank you for letting Ollie come hang with us for a couple months,
I don't know about you, but I'm always touched by that story. I've heard that story hundreds of times, read it, been involved in it. It's a touching story for sure. Wendy, I can remember where I met you the first time.
Do you?
Oh yeah, it was you made a huge impact. You were coming down the hall in Kirkley Hotel where we had just had a fundraising event, and you were one of our guests. I stopped to thank you for coming, and you said, "We need to talk."
I was actually a table captain.
Yes, thank you. All right, you were you're right. So not just a guest, but you had been involved in helping us raise as a table captain, right? Bring some guests to raise it. And I thought she wants to tell me what a wonderful job we were doing raising money. We're still having this conversation. We're still talking, aren't we?
We are still talking, and the great thing is we're listening as well, and growth is happening.
Well, I'm for one just very grateful that you are part of this team, not just a guest at a fundraising event or a table captain, but you're now the captain of a team that's helping us raise money to help kids like Ollie and his dad. And
Can I say something about the video, please?
please go ahead.
So I hadn't watched it for a long time, or that rendition of it, and I thought it was really cool. We just finished talking about family, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And he mistakenly calls us Patrick Henry family,
Family.
right? He keeps leaving the services
Yes.
off. And I think that when we were talking about the isolation, I mean, this is a man who's far away from his own country, whose wife has been the caregiver of his children, and now all of a sudden he's got nobody, and then he has family. And so just the segue of that, I thought that was really cool when we just talked about that not only did it happen for him, but that he actually forgot that we had services at the end of our name
That's the
because
way
he
he
saw
saw
us
us,
as a
yeah.
family. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I'll let you interrupt me for moments like that,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
but make sure when you do it, it's for a really good cause.
Go back to the script, would you?
So, as a captain of our fundraising team, our donor engagement team,
That's right.
right? Very, very important, right? It takes resources to do these things.
It does.
What's your philosophy or we know your why, okay? But what keeps you grounded in the type of fundraising experience that you want our donors and our volunteers and community people to have, right? Because I know you well enough, and you've said, right, we don't want to treat donors like ATMs, right? These are people, and they have families, and we'd like them to come in and be a part of our circle as much as that is possible, right?
Yes.
So, since you haven't been thinking about this since you were 8 years old, but it's been playing out in your own story. Tell us a bit about your vision. What's your idea of fundraising at Patrick Henry Family Services and going forward?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and we heard it in the story for the Sosans, it's not only about how we're meeting the needs, but how those who have said yes and coming alongside, it's mutual, right? They're being touched. We're being touched. I'm being touched. When we say yes with our time, with our talent, and with our treasure. We say that all the time. It's all three. And that's the driving force. It's what makes this, as we have this year spoken out, measurable hope, right? The world may say that hope is something out there it might happen. But what makes that measurable is when it's on both sides, and of course, grounded in Christ, right? And that's what's brought us together. It's always great to hear Mirza, and when he says it's about being human, right? And we know that that's the commonality that God has brought us together in that sense, that we are all made in His image. So those are the things that have drawn me in and helped to lead the phenomenal team that is donor engagement to get the work done. And what I feel like our supporters, our donors, engage with best is that their hearts are heard, they're changed in the midst of the process.
Let's talk about our financial principles for just a second.
Yes.
Okay. Can you name our first one, Ms. Claudia?
I don't know what order you want me to name it in.
Start with how we usually start.
We don't rely on government funding.
Or that we're
Or-
completely charitable.
We're completely charitable. Or that we never turn anyone away for their inability to pay.
So we are truly charitable, but that's been one of the principles since 1961. Another principle is, though, we're not going to rely on government funds to do this, which means there's only one way this is going to happen, right? And one other way this is going to happen.
And that is those that come alongside and say yes.
Exactly.
That they answer that call to care. And because we are not reliant upon government funds and because we don't turn anyone away, I think for those who come alongside and support us, that is impactful for them and energizes them to say yes, to know that they are very much a part of. Again, not just today, because that's one of the things that in that question that you asked, what we're doing is not just about today. We had one of our ministries speak out last year how much we were changing for the future, legacy, family trees, changing those things, and I think that is another component that really moves our donors.
Well, I firmly believe, with all my heart, that because this organization's been faithful to those first two principles, right, it is truly about charity, right? So money should not be a reason anybody is turned away for services. Right? We may not have the service they need, or we might not be the best, but whether it's camp or counseling or care, right, we're going to find a way to make this happen. And then not rely on government, but to say that it's, if we truly are the hands and feet of Christ, if we are the body of Christ, then it's calling us. Don't turn around and ask taxpayers to do what God's asking us to do. So we've been faithful to that. And because of that, we've been able to grow an endowment, which now is to the point where we can truly say to our donors that 100% of their donations go to supporting the services.
That's right.
The children and the families, right?
Yeah.
So none of the three of us sitting around this table is being
Our
supported by donated dollars. So you can put those three things together. That's like a grand slam, isn't it?
It does. Who doesn't want to be a part of that team? Everyone should want to be a part of that team because we are being able to make that much more impact and provide that much more hope.
Okay. But some people would say, well, if you have an endowment, do you really need my money?
We do, because the need is great. And because of what we're talking about, especially the God-sized goal for 2030 that we have, and knowing how much it's going to take. We are not turning anybody away, but the need is growing. And so to be able to meet that, it's not just about our salaries and keeping the lights on. The need grows, and therefore,
Yeah. Well, we were just talking to Ty before we came in. I mean, despite our efforts at Vision 30, the numbers in foster care are going up. Families are struggling right now with a lot of things.
Well, I think that's a great point. We don't get to control what happens in the future. We had no idea a pandemic was coming and where we are as far as in our economics. So the to be able to be proactive in those needs that are going to be happening, we do need our supporters.
What would be your dream and hope for this ministry? And right, because it's not just about me or senior leadership or the trustees. We all have this. We're all walking this thing together. Give us a picture of the future.
Well, I think we have, we speak it out here often, and hopefully it's getting far and wide. It's the fact that we have been asked to lead this charge at Patrick Henry Family Services, that it isn't just us. So my dream is that we would have more active partners coming alongside and recognizing how important it is that we stay the course, but that we have to do it together, that we link our resources, whether that be time, talent, or treasure, to get the word out of how important this is, and that we would be in one accord and stay in one accord. I say this to my team often, we're going to stay the course. We're going to stay the course. Whether we're talking about our year-end campaign, whether we're talking about an impact event, we're going to stay the course that God's given us in telling our stories so that others can be able to come alongside and stay connected.
Yeah. I know that you believe that fundraising can be ministry and should be ministry. What's the difference between a fundraising professional who's doing it, for non-faith, right? How is it fundraising ministry?
Well, I think the big thing is the fact that it's not just about today. right? We're talking about making an impact that actually what we're doing is going to have eternal impact. And that's what makes it ministry, much like when we talk about our personal giving, it's an act of worship. That's what this is. It's giving back. He doesn't need me and the team to go out and do this. He can do it all on his own. We get to be a part of this ministry with him as a point of worship and giving back. I think that at its foundation is what makes a difference and what resonates with our donors.
I also know that we've taken time to minister to our donors
Yes.
because they often have needs. And when we know about it, we take some time to minister, pray with them.
Well, and that's
talk with them,
exactly
hear their
it.
story, right?
A lot of our conversations, well, first and foremost is to appreciate, right? Is to make sure that they know how grateful we are. They can give of that time, talent, and treasure anywhere. And when they choose to do that with us, so it's that. And then taking the time to, how can we pray for you?
So in our remaining time, I know there's a couple different ways to give.
Yes.
And kind of groups of givers and some things that help them. So lay that out for us, like allies and
So yes,
legacy. And
we have the opportunity for those who say, I love what is happening, and let's continue to make sure no matter what the specific designated need may be, let's keep things going. And those are our allies. Month after month, they come alongside and say, we're here with you, locking arms. And that's a wonderful opportunity. We just recently we were able to appreciate them through an event, and they got to spend some time together. Our legacy, a legacy of Hope Circle, those are those who have been with us 10 years plus, coming alongside the course, the ups and the downs, and saying, not just for today, but in my estate, in my legacy, I want to make sure that we continue on with what's happening at Patrick Henry Family Services. And one of our newest initiatives is really coming out to our corporate partners. And that's it, partners, not ATM, not just put your name on the back of a T-shirt, but we have business leaders who care about their business, but also their community and giving them that opportunity.
so there's various venues for giving.
Yes, we can do that online, right? So patrickhenry.org/engage. You will be able to, anyone who goes there, not only engage with your giving, but also engage with those stories, being able to see more videos like you saw this morning, and seeing how that measurable hope is playing out. So that's one of those great ways. We also have our Order magazine, and so again, those stories fleshed out even further, and an opportunity to give and send a check in that way. And I'm always open to a good lunch meeting, so we can sit down and have a conversation and learn more that way. So
People can still write an old-fashioned check, too,
they
can't they?
very much can. We'll take it.
We certainly will. Anything you want to add over there, boss?
I don't think so. I mean, you are sure that they know exactly what to do if they want to give you money. Exactly.
Exactly.
And how much money do we need still?
So, Claudia, what would we do without you? So at this point in time of our most wonderful time of the year, we want to make sure that we're meeting as many needs as possible. Now, again, not just for today, but going on into the future. So we've got a big goal of $165,000 that we have to raise, and we've had those come alongside with us to do a matching gift, and we're up to just under $100,000 with 9 giving days left. I think I'm right on that. And we're at 58.5% of that goal. So going to patrickhenry.org/engage, again, you'll be able to hear more about how we are engaging with those in our community that we're called to care for and how you can be a part of that. So please, if you've given already, thank you. Share the stories. And if you haven't, join us.
And so let's just say I happened to have like 20 grand.
Yes.
But I didn't have time to go to the website. I didn't want to give online. I didn't even have time to put it in the mail. If I called you, would you come pick it up?
813-361-1551. Yes.
Oh, that's your personal
That's
number.
my number.
How about we put the Patrick Henry phone number up there? Yes, we'll even do pickup. My neighbor said, I heard you on the radio. You guys are raising money. I said, yeah. He said, $165,000. I said, that's right. I said, are you going to give? He goes, huh.
Have him call me.
All right, I will. Thank you, Wendy.
I appreciate it.
such a pleasure to have you, not just part of the team, but leading the team, and that this conversation that started in the hall of Kirkley is still going on, and we're getting better and better.
Thanks for allowing me to help.
And we also should shout out to your team. You got a great team.
They're awesome. There is not a way, especially in this year, there's no way that we would be where we are without them. So,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
So thank you, team.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, in closing, I just want to share a little story. And I know we're a little bit past time, so you got to go, that's fine. 41 years ago, during the week of Christmas, I found a 76-year-old man in his own home, beaten up with frostbite. Took him to the emergency room, and despite having both legs amputated, he died. I say that because we're getting ready to get hit by a blast, right? This was a very unusual thing. Kentucky, it was below zero for several days. And here was a guy who had fought in World War I, died of frostbite that he got in his own home. No neighbor had come to check on him. A church half mile away. Obviously, no government people showed up. I was just a college kid. Had no other reason to be there other than I'd already met him and we were trying to help him. That happened 41 years ago. And so I want to say this, is it costs nothing to check on your neighbors this weekend and make sure they're okay. And go by and say Merry Christmas.
Amen.
Amen. All right. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week.
Nobody gets to choose their family. If a person is fortunate enough to be born into a healthy family, then life can be much like floating down a smooth, gentle river in the summertime. But an unhealthy family is like a dangerous river, filled with rocks, debris, and fast-moving water. This river swiftly leads to the steep waterfall of adulthood, tragically forming a new river of dysfunction. Even if you aren't born into an unhealthy river, there are many streams that cause a person to get there. But there is only one way to get out, and that is through a meaningful relationship. Across our region, there are many agencies, churches, and families who are devoted to helping children escape from unhealthy rivers. Some feel their role is to wade in and rescue children. They foster, adopt, or provide safe families. Others stand by the river and support the rescuers by providing what they need. Still, others are upstream and stand in the gap to keep children from ending up in the negative situations. At Patrick Henry Family Services, we see ourselves as having an additional role. We are running up and down the shores of the unhealthy river, screaming, "Can't you see the children in the water? You have to do something." Vision 30 is a 10-year initiative. By 2030, we envision a region where all children are safe in their own family, or with caregivers who are supported by a local faith community. So, where do you stand at the river? Are you upstream, keeping families together and strong by standing in the gap? Are you in the river, directly impacting children? Are you on the shore, providing support for the brave folks who have entered the river? Or are you just passing by without noticing? No matter who you are, come down to the river with us. Let us help you find your place. Not only will lives be changed, but you will never be the same.